Okay, guys, now shall see uh, lifecycle event of an Apache Tomcat server with the flow of execution. Okay, so first of all, for instantiation method, what are the instantiation methods? Look at here. First of all, your lifecycle methods, Servlet class object and JSP class object does not exist initially. To create an object, it internally calls an instantiation by using zero parameter constructor. Okay, and internally calls init with the ServletConfig method. So, which event occurs at this phase? Which event occurs at this stage? At this left side. Okay, the cursor you can see here. Here the cursor you can see here. This way, left side of a diagram. So let me add those points. For instantiation event, for instantiation INSTANTIO instantiation event. For instantiation event, let me add one. For instantiation event, so container internally calls container calls init method, init with the servlet config method on JSP equivalent servlet class object. Next second, since it is not available, then init with ServletConfig method of HttpJspBase class. That is, it is a superclass. It is a superclass of JSP equivalent servlet class. JSP equivalent or JSP equivalent equivalent servlet class executes. The next third point, the init method with the ServletConfig of HTTP JSP base, the init method of HTTP JSP base calls JSP init calls init method. Okay, I am repeating once again, guys. To perform instantiation event, container internally calls init method of ServletConfig method on JSP equivalent servlet class, right? Since it is not available, then init method of a JSP base class, that is superclass of a JSP equivalent servlet class, executes. Then init method with the ServletConfig method of a HttpJspBase calls JSP init methods. Where it is available now? This is my JSP base, right? ABC underscore JSP, which extends HTTP JSP base, right? Is it ABC underscore JSP available? It is exist now. It is not exist. Then internally it calls whose class? Superclass JSP init method. Superclass JSP init. Look at here. From where these are coming? These are coming from superclass. These are coming from superclass, right? Right? Now let me go to the JSP superclass. Here is my superclass. HTTP JSP base. It's extend HTTP servlet. Now here you will find init method. Init method with what? ServletConfig. And internally calls what? JSP init and underscore JSP init. And super of super of बोला आता तरी बोला super dot init of configure proved practically or not understood. Now next request arrival event. Request arrival event. So my instantiation gets completed by using zero parameter constructor and init with the ServletConfig. Now request reached here. Okay. Request will be executed by whom? Public service method. And in the case of convenience method, underscore JSP service. Right? Now what happens internally, that we shall see now. Now request arrival. For request arrival event. For request RequestArrival request arrival event. What happens internally now? My object is ready, zero parameter constructor is also ready. Now request created by using ServletConfig, init with ServletConfig method. Now what happens? Container calls service method with the two parameter. What those two parameter? HttpServletRequest and HttpServletResponse. Since it is not available, it will go to the superclass again. It will go to again superclass. So container calls first service method on a JSP equivalent solid class object. Since it is not available in my JSP equivalent, it will go to JSP equivalent solid class, which is present in a HttpJspBase class of its superclass. Okay, service method of HTTP solid class executes. Okay, then first service method of a solid, then first service method of a HTTP solid class calls second service method of HTTP base class. Then second servlet method of a HTTP base class will get executes and response will be sent back to browser window. In my ABC JSP, I do have JSP solid? Sorry, I do have service method? No. Internally, it will create a which method? Bola underscore JSP service. Is it true? Is it true? This method is coming from where? Coming from where? HTTP JSP base. Understood? Since it is not available in my class, it is not available in my JSP equivalent solid class. This is solid class, na actually. JSP equivalent solid class. It is not available. It will take the help of HTTP JSP base class. This internally HTTP JSP base class internally takes the help of HTTP servlet class. Understood? Now go down now. Go down now. Look at here. It's empty na. It's empty. Now it calls now this one. Proved practically. Proved or not? Understood? So let me add note points. Hard to digest, I know initially, but you need to revise. So container, let me add the note point. Container calls first service method on JSP equivalent on JSP equivalent solid class object. Note it down. Okay, let me add here one B1 actually it's a since it is not available, it is not available or not present, not available. Service method म्हणजे कुठली? Servlet request, or you can call HTTP Servlet request. Request request आणि इथे काय येईल? HTTP Servlet response. Okay. Since it is not available It is not available. Where? In my JSP equivalent Servlet program. Since it is not available in JSP equivalent Servlet class, and then class, and it's a superclass. What is superclass? It's a superclass कौन है? HTTP JSP base. Look at here. ABC. This is the JSP equivalent solid class, right? And superclass is what? HTTP JSP base. It is not available there. JSP base class, the first service method. Here I am writing only dot because first service method म्हणजे कुठली? Lifecycle method ना? First service method means what? Lifecycle methods. So here you can call ServletRequest also only. If you are not happy with this, we can call here ServletRequest and ServletResponse. So ServletRequest and ServletResponse subclass are HTTP ServletRequest and HTTP ServletResponse. Okay. First service method. आता इथं काय येईल? इथं HTTP. इथं येईल HTTP ServletRequest. आणि इथं काय येईल? HTTP ServletResponse of HTTP Servlet class executes. And this is what? And this is the HTTP Servlet class. In the superclass of what? Superclass of HTTP JSP base. And HTTP JSP base चा superclass कुठला आहे? JSP equivalent Servlet class. इथे मी काय करतो? इथं तुम्हाला समजण्यासाठी काय करतो? abc_jsp.java. Clear now? आता क्लिअर झालं का? Okay. Is it clear now? Next, third. This first service method. This first service method of HTTP Servlet class calls second service method वर जायचं का? मग तुम्ही लिहित नाही का? मेथड ऑफ आणखी वरती घ्यायचं का? हाँ, मेथड ऑफ HTTP JSP base class. Fourth point, the second service method of HTTP base class, HTTP JSP base class calls underscore JSP service method. समजलं का रे? नेक्स्ट तिसरा इव्हेंट कुठला इथं? व्हॉट इज द थर्ड इव्हेंट गाइस? डिस्ट्रक्शन इव्हेंट. Container calls. Now look at here guys. I'll prove first practically. This is underscore JSP. Search for destroy method. JSP destroy method, which is available in where? Which is present in a JSP base. Let me go to JSP base now. This is my JSP base. JSP base superclass is HTTP Servlet. So go to destroy method, JSP destroy and JSP destroy. Are these method exist or not? Okay. And this Servlet lifecycle method calls internally JSP destroy and underscore JSP destroy. Right? Right or wrong? This is abstract method present in a HTTP Servlet, and HTTP Servlet superclass is Servlet, generic Servlet super interface is Servlet, right? Abstract class, abstract method, and abstract method. So you need to override here. I have overridden here. It override केलं का? It is overridden here, and internal calls where? Internal calls JSP destroy and underscore JSP destroy. So I need to add these 3 points in my node point. So container calls destroy methods, destroy destroy method. यहाँ क्या problem? Destroy method, since it is not on JSP equivalent, Servlet class object, since it is not available, the superclass, then superclass. What is superclass of my JSP equivalent Servlet class? Here is my abc underscore JSP na, abc underscore JSP dot Java. Okay, since it is not available, then superclass. What is superclass? HTTP JSP base class. Superclass method executes. Third point, this destroy method of HTTP JSP base class calls internally. तुम्हाला कॉल करतो सांगा JSP destroy and JSP destroy method. Okay guys, fine. Tomorrow we shall see how to deploy, procedure to deploy JSP web application, JSP based web application in WebLogic domain. Okay, fine guys. Control Shift 2.